Hello, this is Lymphoma vlog number 4, 2022. So yesterday was all about stress, wasn't it? That was funny. Today I thought I'd just talk a little bit about living with lymphoma after last year's kind of rounding off to do with where the pandemic was. So now we're in a situation when we were coming through this year where things opened up. I believe at the moment the government guidelines are still for everybody that if you're in crowded places to wear masks. I'm like most people, I have my own ridiculous set of rules that I apply to myself and to others where I can that are helpful to me, in that I will wear a mask in a supermarket, but I have sat in sessions playing with other musicians, obviously not wearing a mask because I can't play with a mask on, and I've been in rooms as opposed to outdoor situations a lot over the summer playing music. It's not always been a terribly comfortable thing to do, but mostly, as I was trying to explain before, I just want to live as much as I possibly can, doing what I do for a living. And I can't do that without taking risks. Now, I'm hopeful, like everybody else, that COVID will go into a situation where it becomes a bit like flu, where we'll get our annual jabs and it won't protect us against all varieties of it, but it should help us. And then those who have both flu and COVID try and avoid being out and about and giving it to other people. That's the ideal, I suppose. In March of this year, having had my 3 jabs, my booster, spring booster one, I then got COVID. I think I actually caught it when I was in France and went down with it just after I got home. And my sister had it in France. I locked her into a room and fed her food through the doorway. And she had the opportunity to rest a lot. But within that, I think I got it quite a lot worse than she did. Mostly for the first 48 hours, in that I was hurting everywhere, all over, as well as the horrible feeling of a cough and the cold and all that sort of thing. Those latterly bits and pieces then just seemed to go on for ages and ages and ages. It took quite a long time for that end of the cold-like symptoms to go away. So it felt like my vaccinations had done me good in protecting me from getting any worse. But there's no doubt that what I experienced made me think, do you know what? I don't really want to get this again, and I'm very glad that I have been vaccinated. So now I'm in a situation where I will be given, presumably sooner rather than later for some people, the 4th jab to get me through the winter. And I will still be doing my gigs and going out and about. So at the beginning of the year, I was very conscious of things like tutoring on the National Youth Folk Ensemble. Why? Because it's young people. I love young people and children, but I found that I was more scared of the situations where there were small children around than I would be normally, because I love kids. But just the whole thing about the way the news had come out about people, kids in school, and the amount of COVID going around in school and teachers and all that, it did make us wary. But we had certain safeguards for the National Youth Folk Ensemble. People at that point were still testing before they arrived for things like that, and actually pretty much every other day while we were there. And then anybody who tested positive was supposed to then isolate, blah, 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 blah. It didn't happen while I was there, had happened on a previous one, I think. And then over the summer, it's been almost like back to normal, in that most people seem to be wandering around, not worrying too much if they're at festivals. Maybe those are the people who don't feel at risk anyway, although numbers were down across. So whether that means some people weren't going because they were still worried. I was at Sidmouth. Several of the people I was with who were at Sidmouth went down with COVID. I was at Whitby. Several of the people I was with at Whitby went down with COVID. Of course, earlier in the summer, in June, we had our Blowsabella Festival. Several people at the Blowsabella Festival I was with went down with COVID. I didn't. So I would have had increased immunity from having had COVID. Plus, I then, after I'd gone through that, then had my extra booster jab. I can't remember which numbers I'm on, but anyway, the extra one that was available I had after COVID rather than having it before. And the only times where I've felt vulnerable, there was one time at Shrewsbury Festival, which is fantastic in that it's mostly outdoors, where one of the late night sessions was crammed into a particularly tiny room, and I'd lost my phone. I mean, I kept kind of dashing in to talk to people and dashing out. I didn't feel comfortable in that environment because it was a hot, sticky room, ramjacked with people and no ventilation. So I'm still being cautious, but I'm just putting myself out there like everyone else and hoping for the best and consciously not trying to take more risks than I need to. I hope that makes some kind of sense. Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow for blog number, where will we be? We'll be blog number 6. This must be number 5. See you tomorrow for that. Bye.